Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak and the Legacy of Supers. So for the most part, I will say, I'm making some good progress here. And I do have a lot to say about many of these other heroes that I will get to talk about soon, but let's direct our eyes over to yet another one of my favorite Marvel-related heroes, Spider-Man. In general, I definitely consider Spider-Man to be another one of my all-time favorite heroes out there in the Marvel Universe. And of course, I can explain why. Because, after all, there is a huge abundance of villains in the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man, however, has a really big repertoire to utilize. And I can tell you that for sure, because there's tons of villains. Maybe I'll get to many of them later on when I start talking about the villains here in the Legacy of Supers, but there's a lot of them. The Lizard, Venom, Sandman, Carnage, Venom, Hypno Hustler, Rhino, Scorpio, and the list goes on and on. I mean, it's just incredible. Spider-Man's villain list is astounding, especially when you look at it from more recent times, because the 2018 Marvel Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 4, for the most part, was probably one of the greatest I might have had the irony of playing. As a matter of fact, Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo actually happens to have a lot of this. There's a lot of footage that I got for Spider-Man from 2018 for the new season of GWK. And that, of course, the Spider-Man segment here in Season 5, that is going to be going down pretty well. But other than that, the usage of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in films is pretty darn good for what it was. It first started off with the live-action Sam Raimi trilogy from 2002 to 2007, and those films I remember so much as a young kid. I mean, I used to watch them all the time. Of course, I haven't really gotten around to seeing the first one that often because, well, for one, we didn't really have it on DVD. But we did have part 2 and 3 on DVD, so of course, since they both came out, I was able to watch them over and over again. But it wasn't until some years back that I was able to look at the first one. It was great for what it was. Although, looking back at it now, many people would consider the Sam Raimi trilogy to be bad. Yeah. And of course, there was the Sony reboot duology, which included The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 from 2012 and 2014. Of course, there was supposed to be a third one, but of course that got scrapped because by 2016 was when Marvel decided to put the character Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's where we got ourselves Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Probably one of the best interpretations of Peter Parker by far. I always was a big fan of, well, Tobey Maguire playing the Peter Parker character, and Andrew Garfield was pretty good too, but of course, as Spider-Man, Maguire does alright. Garfield does pretty well, and, well, Tom Holland, by far, does best in both worlds. Holland's basically the best in both of these realms, both as Spider-Man and as Peter Parker. I've actually talked a lot about Tom Holland not long ago, as a matter of fact, so I guess that just goes to show that I'm really appreciated at what Holland has done so far. The past 4 years have been extraordinary to have Spider-Man in the MCU, and I bet you many people would agree. So, there's tons of different Spider-Man suits that are out there, along with tons of different abilities and webbing powers and the like. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming for me. I would talk about every single one of them, including the different types of webbing, such as the basic web, which is like a line that could stick to any surface, and allow Spider-Man to pretty much swing on anything, pretty much. Then, of course, there's the rapid-fire webs, and, I mean, there's the trap web, there's the exploding web, and, of course, there's also the nets, which are the types of webs that Spider-Man would lay down occasionally to rescue falling innocents. So, yeah. I practically run into the end of the road there at this point. But you know what? Spider-Man is by far another one of my favorite Marvel heroes of all time, though my favorite of all time is still going to be the Incredible Hulk. For all those reasons that I've already mentioned. So, you can probably check that one out if you want to, but if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.